Hello everybody, I hope you're having a fantastic day. I've got a couple of packages here and a couple of other things I got for work, so let's take a look. First one, obviously from Amazon. This is something you've seen probably other YouTubers get. These are ferrule crimping kits, and for these little round ferrule things. I am doing more stuff with terminal strips, which just kind of brings back bad memories for me. When I was a young man, I did a lot of industrial work, and I crimped a lot of terminals before they had these little ferrules available. And so I spent a lot of time chasing little stray wires sticking out and twisting wires until my hands were about to fall off. But I got this kit for, I don't remember exactly how much it was, off Amazon. And this one had 1,800. There's a lot of them that only come with 1,200. I know 1,200, 1,800 probably doesn't really matter. But this one came with 1,800 of these little crimpers. So we're gonna grab this and open it up. And I don't know much about the quality, and to be honest, I don't need crazy high quality. If I am doing something fancy, I'll order them specifically for the job. But it's got, what do we have here? 8 different sizes from 22 gauge to 10 gauge or 7 gauge here. So the idea with these things is they're made to slip over stranded wire, and when you crimp them, they will stop the stragglers from happening. So it also came with these crimpers, and this seemed to be one of the better reviewed sets. I've always thought these looked kind of cool, the way they have this square thing here. Now, they do make these in 4 sides and 6 sides, and people actually tend to prefer the 4 sides because it allows the screw to hit flush on the side of a connector. Let me show you what I'm talking about. So I grabbed some wire here that I think is 20 gauge. It's not labeled, but I'm going to call it 20 gauge, and we're going to slip this in, making sure none of the strays come out. And let's just see if the 22 gauge would fit on there. Let's see how that goes. Right here. Yeah, that actually feels good. I'm going to go with 22 gauge. And then these things just go in here, and you line it up to the end, and you squeeze it, and you should wind up with a nice square. Get you focus on that. A nice little square connector. A little hard to tell it's square from where you're at. And then what you do is trim the edge off, and that gives you a nice no flyaway connection into a terminal strip. And I would venture to say, unless you met somebody who grew up working in a factory, you don't know anybody who's done more terminal strips than I have. Now, I do have one top tip for you. Even though these things are Phillips, these are the cheap ones. I've got some higher quality ones in there, but even though these things are Phillips, I highly recommend that you put them in with a flat-headed screwdriver, and that will just give you a lot better torque on that teeny tiny little screw there. We have IWISS, which is a company you've probably heard of if you watch any of these type of maker channels. This is probably the first IWISS tool that I own. But this is the IWISS JST Crimper, and you're probably familiar with crimping these DuPont things, and I have this expensive set that Andreas Spiess made me buy, and then he turned around and said that he actually liked the IWISS better. But anyway, I have these because I have these. These are relatively cheap from China. JST connectors, and JST connectors are nicer than DuPont in some instances because they're keyed. So in other words, I can determine that the VCC or whatever is going to be on one side, and this connector over here has a slot so that it cannot be put in backwards. But they do use a different size crimp than the standard DuPont, and so you can see here, not very pretty, but yeah, I got that right there, and that is the connector. So I guess what I can do, I wasn't planning on it, but I'll go ahead and grab a piece of wire and we'll see if we can make a connection. So full disclosure, I had to run out in the middle of testing those crimpers, so maybe they'll get a video of their own. But in the meantime, more packages came in, so let's open this one up and see what we got. Felt like I came real close to the edge. We've got some more EEPROMs, and I don't know particularly what these are for. Are they AliExpress? I'm guessing these are not AliExpress. I think they're eBay, and I think they're for a specific project. These are the 28C64, and I think these might be for the 8K ROMs that I need for the XT IDE project. So for those of you that aren't familiar, it's an ISA card that will allow you to boot IDE drives on relatively old computers, or really old computers, and I needed a special size EEPROM for those, and EEPROMs are going to come in handy pretty soon, so we'll be coming back to these in a minute. Next one we have is this thing here. Man, I came real close to cutting whatever's inside there. This could be one of those multi AliExpress packages. I don't know. No, I don't know what that is. It's in a bag. Oh, zip discs. This is kind of funny. Okay, this is kind of random. I normally wouldn't have put this on a mailbag video, but this is a set of Zip 100s that they said had only been written to once. But these were just a couple of them that I found for like $3, so $1 a piece. So this is PC4 backups, original files. I have no idea what that would have been. But I think the company that had these things had just written them once and kind of put them on the shelf. And it was $3, so I thought it'd be kind of fun to just have a couple of extra of these zip discs. I have some Zip 250 discs, but I don't have any Zip 100s. And I did just get a computer that had an internal Zip 100 drive in it. So anyway, I have a new drive that would read just these, so I figured I'd pick up a couple of these at $1 a piece. Next up is one that I've really been looking forward to, and it's from a guy in Canada named Larry. And Larry does some pretty cool projects that you may have seen on a couple of other people's YouTube channels. So we're going to open it up and show you what it is. So this is a handmade device, and he wrote me a note that I'm going to read off screen, and then I will tell you a little bit more about it. So this is a handmade wooden pin straightener for integrated circuits, and a man named Larry in Canada hand makes these things, and they're made from black walnut and padauk and poplar and wenge, and it has this brass rod in here and some 24 gauge steel, and this thing is designed for taking chips and aligning them. And so let me just show you a little bit of the features of it. It has a 23 karat gold inlay, which is sort of his signature, that has had resin poured over it, and the whole thing has been sanded very smooth and has an old school lacquer finish on it. In addition to the squeezy section, it also has this ridge up here, which I'll be showing you in a couple of minutes for dealing with pins that are bent inwards, and has this thing up here for, you know, getting pins that are kind of all wonky and not evenly spaced. Let me explain, first of all, its normal usage would be, this is one of those new EEPROM chips I just got in. When you get these things, if you look down the sides, this one isn't too bad, but they're a little splayed out from the factory. So the part of it, the idea of this is that you put this in here toward the red side, the red padauk side, and you use this thing to keep the chip down, and then you simply squeeze it together and it perfectly aligns the chips so that they are vertical. Now, Larry was nice enough to make me this special edition one. The other ones are designed primarily for single row or single width 8mm-ish chips, and I asked him if he could make me one for these classic double wide dip chips, and he was very nice enough to do that. And so what's kind of cool is I have this whole thing of salvaged EEPROMs that a lot of them are in kind of rough shape, and this thing has some cool features. So say for instance with these pins here that are bent, let me see if I can get you a good focus, bent kind of weird, what you can do is use this thing to kind of align them out, even if you're just going on the end one, and use it to get pins going good right to left. The other kind of cool feature is this groove up top, where if these chip pins were bent too far inwards, you could actually put it in the groove and slightly tilt the chip to bend the pins outwards. And now you can see that I bent them way too far outwards on purpose, and we can put it back in here and put the steel bar on it and squeeze it. And he said recommends for one this big to keep it on the table, but that will perfectly align the chip. And so that will make it a lot easier to get in the socket. And, you know, it is rare these days that things are made like this by hand with craftsmanship. And, you know, this is one of those, could be a lifetime tool, and I really hope it is. It's something I'm truly going to treasure. And if you really would like to treasure something like this, you can get in contact with Larry. I'll put his email in the description of this video, and he may, I can't guarantee he will, but he may agree to make you one. Another thing he's looking for is somebody who is willing to do a 3D printing mock-up, CAD mock-up of this thing, so that something like this could be 3D printed. He would really love for people to be able to 3D print this design. So if you've got some CAD chops and would like to take a chance at modeling something like this, he'd be happy to send you a one of these devices for your time in mocking this up. So this is very, very cool, and I can't thank Larry enough for his generosity and the time and love that was put in to this handmade device. I will have it on my desk for the rest of my life. All right, next up we have a couple things that had to be opened in because they're part of other packages, but I did buy some of this liquid solder flux. It's a water-soluble flux, and I think there are times that I don't use enough flux. It says use ample flux for good protection after soldering, remove the residue with warm water. This is a relatively easy, clean flux from what I understand. And one of the things I did was I bought these tubes here, or these little bottles, which either will appear in a future or past mailbag video. And as you can see in this one, I've got isopropyl alcohol. I have just different chemicals that I use in my office that I put in these little tiny bottles. And I really love them for stuff like this. And it comes with little funnels here so that you can load them up. But you just take, hopefully I won't make a giant mess, you just take this flux and put it in here and label the bottle, and then these things have needle nose tips on them, so I don't need to use anywhere near as much as I normally would. So you take the thing and drop it down here, and I'll check which colors I've already used. So I've used red and purple and white, so we're going to go ahead and put a yellow needle nose cap on it. And so now my yellow one is this flux here, so I can apply just the right amount of this stuff to my soldering projects. And if I put the cap on the right way. And these bottles are amazing. So I've heard nothing but good stuff about this flux, and then the bottles themselves have been life-changing for the chemicals. I find myself using just so much less chemical, and you know, with things like deoxit and all my different degreasers and stuff like that, just little tiny bits. You need a couple drops. I'm not spraying it all over the office with the aerosol can. I spray the aerosol can in here and then put it out a couple drops at a time. Can't recommend that highly enough. One other thing I got that I didn't open but is here is this solder paste. I hadn't bought solder paste in a really long time, and this is Quik solder paste, and it actually came with the plunger, which a lot of times these things don't come with the plungers, but anyway, this came with the plunger for dispensing the solder paste, and this is supposed to be a relatively easy solder paste to work with, and so it's got a reflow chart and all that, but it's relatively straightforward on this, and people seem to like it really well for SMD applications. I do have this. I'm not sure if this will fit. I'm pretty sure this came from a Voltlog mailbag. This company, Mechanic, just makes some really nice soldering stuff. And so there's a plunger, if I can ever get it out of the dang package. And I think this will actually fit in this one. Yeah, so this is a higher quality plunger. Is it gonna fit? Oh, it's not gonna fit, is it? Not quite gonna fit in there. So this one fits though, so that's good. But I did buy this higher quality solder plunger that does not fit this application, but I'm sure I'll find something that it fits. I do have some bigger syringes. I was actually expecting this syringe to be a little bit bigger. But there is one more thing that I got from that same Voltlog mailbag, and it is this stuff. This is Mechanic tip refresher, lead Lead is supposed to be lead free, I'm guessing. And I don't know if this is genuine mechanic brand, but I freaking love this stuff. You can tell that I hardly ever need to use it, but essentially you take your soldering iron, and you can see this one, I've been doing a lot of soldering. So that tip, it is 600 degrees. That tip is a little torched. So you come in here and you roll it in here at 600 degrees, and you just get a perfect tin and refreshment. Let's see if I can let you see that. You get a perfect tin and refreshment on the end of your tip and a protectant. So again, 600 degrees, you roll it around a little bit, and it does a really good job at keeping the tip fresh. And so I recommend this stuff. I can't say enough about it. Again, you probably need to use it like once a month if you solder every day. But it is just a fantastic little tip refresher that seems to keep the thing in good shape. This is an actual Hakko one, so the tips are not cheap. I want to do anything I can to protect them. So that is the end of the mailbag. I appreciate you guys sticking with me, and I hope you have a great day. Thanks for watching.